Book title: Madusa's Minds, Reflections of Ego version 1.0. Author: J.R. Wert. Chapter 1, Ego's Funhouse. Navigating the self-perception mirror maze. How does the self I present to the world compare to the one I keep hidden? And in what ways do my internal dialogues, fears, and external expectations shape this perception? If I were to strip away all my roles, labels, and memories, what essence would remain? And how much of my identity is truly static versus continually evolving? What would I discover about myself if I could observe without biases or preconceived notions? And what does it mean to be authentically me? Mirrors, silent keepers of truths and lies, show us more than our physical selves. They reveal a reflection rich with psychological and sociological layers. The mysterious duality of mirrors serves as more than mere reflective surfaces. They are portals into the depths of self-perception, where our internal narratives meet and mingle with the external world's perceptions. As we delve into the intricacies of how mirrors influence our self-concept, we uncover a fascinating interplay of psychological biases, like the self-enhancement tendency, and sociological theories, such as Charles Horton Cooley's looking-glass self. This exploration is not just an academic journey, it's a voyage into understanding the very essence of how we perceive ourselves and shape our identities in the eyes of ourselves and others. The ways we perceive ourselves, especially when confronted by our reflections in mirrors, are deeply intertwined with complex psychological and philosophical dynamics. Notably, individuals often perceive themselves as more attractive in mirrors, a phenomenon that is not encapsulated by a single philosophical study but spans various psychological and philosophical concepts. This altered self-perception involves significant psychological principles, such as the self-enhancement bias, which suggests that individuals tend to view themselves more favorably than might be perceived by others. This bias plays a critical role in how individuals assess their physical appearance in mirrors. Additionally, the sociological concept of the looking-glass self suggests that individuals develop their self-concepts based on how they believe they are perceived by others. This idea not only affects how one might view themselves in a mirror, seeing not just a reflection but also an imagined external perception, but it also paves the way for a deeper philosophical exploration, particularly within phenomenology. This philosophical movement, spearheaded by Edmund Husserl, emphasizes the significance of the subjective perspective. It delves into how our consciousness constructs the images we see of ourselves, bridging the external perceptions of the looking-glass self with the internal dialogue shaped by personal experiences. This framework is instrumental in understanding the layers of perception that mold our self-understanding, providing a comprehensive approach to studying our encounters with reflections and self-assessment. Integrating the sociological insights of the looking-glass self with psychological principles like the self-enhancement bias enriches our understanding of self-perception by weaving together the influence of social mirrors and intrinsic psychological tendencies. Cooley's concept suggests that our self-image is shaped significantly by how we believe others perceive us, turning each social interaction into a mirror reflecting back a version of ourselves. This sociological perspective correlates intriguingly with the psychological self-enhancement bias, which drives us to view ourselves through a more forgiving lens than might be used by others. This bias implies a natural inclination to focus on and amplify our positive attributes when we assess ourselves in the metaphorical mirror of social interaction. Together, these insights create a dynamic interplay where the social feedback we imagine we receive is filtered through an innately positive self-assessment, potentially leading to a cycle where our self-perception might either become inflated or conflicted, depending on the nature and tone of perceived external judgments. Understanding how these forces interact offers a clearer picture of the complex mechanisms underlying how we construct and maintain our self-concept in a social context. Phenomenology, the philosophical study of the structures of experience and consciousness from a first-person perspective, enriches our understanding of self-perception and postulates that our awareness of ourselves, including our appearance, is inherently subjective and continuously shaped by our interactions and experiences. This approach underscores the subjective nature of self-perception from two distinct angles. One through the lens of social interaction, as highlighted by Cooley, and the other through individual consciousness, as examined in phenomenology. As we delve into existentialism, we uncover a philosophical realm that probes how individuals ascribe meaning to their lives against the backdrop of an indifferent universe. This school of thought emphasizes personal responsibility for crafting one's identity and purpose. Existentialism particularly highlights the ego's tendency to distort self-perception as a strategic maneuver to navigate life's inherent uncertainties, a theme deeply explored in the writings of Jean-Paul Sartre. Sartre's existentialist perspective underscores freedom, isolation, and authenticity as crucial to our self-understanding. When we observe our reflections, existentialism encourages us to scrutinize the authenticity of the image and accept the responsibility for our perceptions, suggesting that the ego's enhancement of its image is both a freedom exercise and a bid to impose order and significance in an ambiguous world. By acknowledging this existential freedom, individuals are empowered to shape their self-perception more authentically, understanding the role of their choices in the narrative they construct about themselves. This notion of self-perception takes on a metaphorical dimension when considering the ego's interaction with its own image, akin to gazing into a concave mirror in a funhouse. These mirrors distort our physical form, and similarly, the ego's view of itself can inflate its presence and significance beyond reality. This psychological convolution is wrought by the ego's intrinsic desire for self-enhancement, which, in its benign form, boosts self-esteem or confidence but can intensify into a profound misreading of one's capacities and virtues. At its core, the ego is driven by a primal urge for self-preservation and affirmation. It seeks to establish and maintain a self-image that not only reassures its worthiness, but also asserts superiority over external perceptions and judgments. This often leads to exaggerations of positive qualities and a minimization or denial of faults and failures. From an existential perspective, the ego's distortion of reality emerges as a strategy to navigate the inherent absurdities of life, seeking to impose order and meaning where there is none. However, this distortion can lead to a cycle of self-delusion where the individual becomes progressively detached from reality. As the ego indulges in these distortions, false perceptions become entrenched, potentially causing conflicts in social interactions and impeding personal growth. The more the discrepancy between self-perception and external perceptions widens, the more isolated individuals may find themselves. Understanding these distortions in self-perception is crucial. When one's ego looks into the proverbial funhouse mirror, the reflection seen is not a faithful replica but a grandiose, distorted version of the self. While momentarily gratifying, this skewed vision ultimately distorts the individual's understanding of their true place and role within the wider social and existential fabric, often leading to misjudgments and missteps in both personal and professional realms. Recognizing these distortions has practical implications for our personal relationships and social interactions, emphasizing the importance of confronting and understanding the ego's funhouse mirror.